Page directives are something you really need to make friends with. And in this video, I want to go over page directives. Now, understand before we start, there's going to be entirely too much information for you to really hang on to here. But what I want to try to do is kind of plant some seeds in your brain so that when you come across different situations and opportunities in your web page development, you can remember, kind of, like, ding, okay, yeah, I remember. There was something about that in page directives. A lot of people have spent a lot of time writing quite a few lines of code to do something that was provided already in a page directive. So I want to just go through the list here and give you some very general descriptions about some of the more useful page directives. And then I'm going to point you to documentation. But first out, let's talk about the @page directive. Now, these things, you'll notice them. They're at the top of your ASP.NET web pages, just like in ASP. And they instruct the web server in a lot of different things. And this is really one of the best kept secrets about even ASP, but especially now in ASP.NET. They're basically divided into these categories: @page, @control, @import, @implements, @register, assembly, output cache, and reference. Now, if you can hang on to those, just remember they fall into basically those categories. And let's take a look at them in a little bit more detail. First of all, the @page sets specific page attributes. And an example of this is the ASP compat function. You can set this to true, and this will allow your ASP.NET page to use COM objects. Now, there was a lot of talk when ASP.NET was first announced. Oh, no. What about COM? Now we're going to lose COM. You've messed us up now. We've built all these COM objects, and I know we're not going to be able to use them. You're going to try to sell us something, on and on and on. But Microsoft's done an excellent job of making COM objects available to ASP.NET. So we can use this to allow our web pages to access COM objects. Now, I didn't say it was efficient, but I said it was easy, okay? Buffers. We can use the @page directive to set whether or not we want to enable buffering, which means if we've got a lot of information we're passing back to our clients, they don't have to wait for the whole thing to be to be ready. We can send pieces back to them. Then there's error page, and you saw this a little earlier in one of my examples. This defines a target URL so that if I have an unhandled page error, or an exception as they call them now, it will show a page to the user. And usually this is a kinder, gentler, easier to understand. A lot of people new to the internet get that 404 forbidden code, and they think they've done something horribly wrong, and you know there's a big federal case being made, and that's not happening. But that's a very ominous type error message. So you could write something a little kinder and gentler on your users for that. You'll see the language directive used quite a bit. It specifies the language being used on this web page. VBNet is the default, by the way. There are other @page options that we're not going to go into right now. Notice some of these: auto event wire up, class name, looking at your compiler options, content types, cultures, debugs. We're going to talk about session state and view state a little bit later on, a little bit more detail. So just kind of plant these in your brain. There's a lot of things you can set here. Notice explicit inherits. We can use inheritance here. Smart navigation, trace. We're going to look at traces a little bit later on.